Welcome, everyone. This is the second part of the course history, class rank, and transcript guide. Today, we will be talking about transcripts, looking at some seals and our load settings. The load settings that we will apply, you can also use this with the R700, which is the report card formatter to save so you can use throughout the year. So the concept is the same. So we are going to look at some of the documentation. I put that with the Zoom link, but just to make sure in the Learning Center. So if you just, even if you put transcript guide, since we are looking at transcripts today, it will populate the course history, class rank, and transcript guide overview. And then I am looking at the PDF. Of the document itself, it is page 29. You can click on from within the document and go directly to the transcript formatter. Or if you scroll through it, it is 33 of the PDF. So I know they don't count the beginning pages and such. So this is it. This is the information that we are pulling from today. Course history and class rank we talked about the other day. If you missed that training, all of our trainings are now being recorded. They are under student services on our homepage, and you can click on this link to see any of these recorded training videos. So you can watch them um, as needed. So I am going to go ahead and get started. So working with our transcripts, couple things. So some of our transcript information does pull from the student's profile. So if we are looking at a student, so I'm just going to pull up a student here. So in our student's profile, we actually have the FN graduate tab, which has the graduation information. However, it cannot be edited from here. So if you are looking at this, you'll see that nothing can be edited, um, but you'll see here you can maintain the graduation elements from the student exemptions and requirements. So if any of these areas do need to be changed, you could click directly on this link to get into the student exemptions. So that is where some of the information does pull from. So, with that being said, another thing that we are going to look at to prepare for transcripts is our GPA set. So, if I type in the go to GPA set, that is going to populate, and I'm going to go into the high school and retype this. So if I go to my GPA set, you can see that my cumulative and my weighted have not been updated for well, a couple weeks now. So if you are running multiple transcripts, you will want to make sure that you refresh these. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. It's not going to automatically update my screen, but it is in my management screen. So you can see that it is updating. Maybe it's taking a second. There it goes. So it's updating the GPA calculation. Okay. And then just like everything else, once my job status is complete, it is updated. And I would do the same for my weighted GPA as well. If I do refresh my screen, you'll see that those dates will update. So again, if you are running transcripts for multiple students, you are going to want to make sure your GPA set is up to date. Okay, so now let's actually look at our R702. So looking at this, we are going to look at this side by side with the transcript so we can see what you're looking at in the formatter to how it populates on the screen itself or on the transcript itself. Because to me, looking at these selection criteria screens, there's just a bunch of stuff. So Um, I am real quick going to pull up a load setting from last year and I'll show you how to save your load settings for this year. So I don't know why I'm acting so with that being said, the R700 is a way that you can decide what populates on the transcript. So you yourself, through the selection criteria screen, can determine what course history you're going to see on the transcript, the marks that you're going to be able to see, the attendance, how many years of attendance you want to populate, what GPA sets you want on there. So if you are a school that has weighted and unweighted, if you want both of those, and then you can decide whether you want assessment data on there, as well as the credits. So you get to determine all of those things for the transcript that you are going to populate for the student. Now, another tip or something that I would suggest is that you create 2 load settings. Um, so when you create load settings, basically what that does is it is saving the criteria that you have picked. So when you go back to the screen, when you click on your load setting, it'll automatically pull over the years, the mark types, and so forth. So when you're thinking of this, think of it in 2 different ways. So you're gonna have a load setting for individual students, and then you're gonna have a load setting, like, maybe for, semester break and at the end of the year when you're running transcripts in bulk. So you're gonna run, multiple students at one time. And then all of that information will be, stored and able to populate. So we'll talk about those 2 different ones. I'm going to set mine up for the I want to menu. So you're thinking, well, what is this I want to menu that she is talking about? So when we have any student in context, we have an I want to menu. So if I look at my student, oh, let me go back to my screen here. If I click on the drop down arrow, I have this I want to menu. So you'll see that with this student, I want to view or print a student transcript. These are going to be the load settings that you save um, for the I want to menu. And you can see some of these are older ones. So I can get rid of those if I want to, if I am the creator of them. Um, or I can leave them if that is something that I am going to use. So you might have one, for example, one might have seals, one might not have seals. And then, for example, I'm going to do one for individual students, and then I'm going to do the official transcript that I might use to print in bulk. So that is when I'm talking about the I want to menu, it is populating this um, here. So the difference between the load settings for an R700 or your report card and the load settings for your R702, your transcript, is when I run this, it is running it live. It is pulling the data right away. Whereas if I am trying to view the latest report card, those report cards have to be scheduled. Once they're scheduled, it stores a PDF in the vault, and I am actually pulling up that PDF. When I am pulling in the transcript information, again, it is pulling live. It is pulling those updates from that FN graduate tab, from those student exemptions, the course history of the student. So it's pulling in all that stuff live. So it does sometimes take a little bit longer to load than a report card because it is getting the most current data. That is why it is important that if you're running multiple transcripts at one time, that you do refresh that GPA set. So I'm going to go back to my R702. So we are going to look at this side by side. Oh, now that I have, there it goes. Okay, let me pull back up my old load settings. So you can see here my report card format. Mine is called TCCSA Seals. Okay, so mine is one that is going to populate seals. So you can see this is my Mickey Mouse example on the side. I ran this earlier. It will always have the print date up at the top so you know how current that transcript is. So I am pulling a layout that does have seals. When you look in here, you are going to see multiple ones for our districts. Most of you have custom layouts already created. So the non-custom ones are these at the top. So our fixed N1 is the one from the state. So that is the default. So any updates, for example, when attendance went from days to hours, they updated the format for the N1 to switch from the days to the hours. So that is one that we can't update individually. The state actually does that, but yours themselves, we can customize for the different things that you want. And you'll see some districts have regular ones as well as ones with seals. With that being said, because you have custom layouts, if things are updated by the State Department, they don't automatically update on your transcripts. So that is a ticket that you would have to put in. For example, if you are a district that is still showing days for attendance and you want to switch to hours, you would need to put in a ticket and we would have to change your custom layout. So again, it does not automatically update. We have to do that for you. So I'm going to leave mine as is with my TCCSA seals. Okay. I don't think anybody is using the watermark. So we're going to kind of pass that. Orientation is going to be portrait. Most of you try to have everything fit onto one page. Sometimes, depending on the student, it does run over into 2 pages, or especially with the seals, it might go on to 2 pages. But if you are printing multiple students, it will always do a page break in between students, so student information won't get combined on one sheet. One other note, with this, the layouts, you can look at other people's and see how their layouts work. The only time it's not going to work 100% correctly is if you are an alpha district, which most of you are, and you're trying to use a numeric district such as Triway or Loudonville. So theirs are set up a little bit differently because they are a numeric school. But if you look at another one, say for example you're looking at Norway's and you're like, oh well, like how they have theirs set up. In your ticket you can request, you can say, I like Norway's layout and I would like this included in our layout. So you do have the option to look at others.
Shelley, we have a
Yes.
question in the chat
Oop, and I forgot to put the chat up. Thank you.
from Julie. I don't have the option to print and view transcripts from the I want to menu.
Um, One, make sure you are at the building level, not the district level. So first see if that solves the problem, because you will not see it if you are at the district level.
At the high school level.
You're at the high school level and you still don't
No.
see it?
No.
Okay, then it will be at your load settings. So when we
Okay.
save our load settings, when we go through this, you'll see how we can check the I want to box, and then it'll
Okay.
become available.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so next is the school year for the marks. So these are, in again, we're using demo information. Mickey has been a senior for like 5 years now, and then he just keeps repeating his senior year. So just kind of ignore that. But this school year for marks, this determines what school years are going to populate on the transcript. So with that being said, you should probably not have more than 6. So for example, I'm going back to 18. I want to remove 18, but now I want to add the 24-25 school year. So those are going to be my 6 years. So that might pick up if a student took Algebra 1 in 7th or 8th grade. Next, is the mark credit type for the current school year. So that's this year. So in my example, this is the one that we're looking at down here. But you can see I have progress 1. So progress 1 is a grading period. So just like when you're setting up your GPA sets, um, we um, we set up progress 1 for the grading period, and then your earned is your final. So if I'm looking at my current school year, which this is my current school year for the demo, you can see because I have progress 1, I have grading period 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the final. Where in the mark type for previous years, I only have earned, so I am only seeing those final grades for all of those.
Question from the chat.
I see that.
Yeah.
I am not, and I'm assuming this is Laura because it doesn't say your name. Um, I am not 100% sure if you can pull in a transcript from their homeschool. Um, Even with the district trust set up, I would have to look into that. Oh, okay. I would have to look into that. I know you can pull in attendance data, but I don't know if you can pull in their course history unless you've imported the course history. I will get back to you on that one because I don't want to give you the wrong answer. Okay. Um, So current year, previous year, we see those. Course type. So my suggestion is course type, as Sherry taught me, less is more. So if we leave everything over on the left-hand side, it's going to look at all the different course types. The reason why I'm saying this is you might mark something as CCP. Maybe a student is they're taking a few CCP classes online that you're not offering at your district. So you mark the one as a CCP class, but somebody else puts another course in that's a CCP class, but it's online and they mark it as online. So you want to make sure you're getting all those course types for all the courses that that student is taking. So if you leave everything over on the left-hand side, it will look at all of the course types. Okay, next we're going to go through all of these settings here. So, show separate marks subreport for each school year. Yes, that is the school year heading here. Okay, so you do want that on so it separates each school year. If you say it as no, it's just going to list all of them in one big block. So it will have the grade level, but it's not going to have these nice boxes per school year. So you do want to leave that as yes. Show separate mark subreports for each school. So this is a good example to show because Mickey here has taken classes from different schools. So if I look, especially our CCP class students, they might have some classes at the homeschool, they might have some classes at the college, or our students that are going to the JVS part-time and the homeschool part-time. So you can see it lists everything in the school year. It lists each of the schools and what the course is, but they're not separate blocks. So we want to leave that or make sure that is no. If we put that as yes, it would have 2023, it would have the test high school, then it would show in one block, and then it would produce another block for the University of Akron. So you would have 2 blocks for 2023. So if we put that at no, it puts them all together. Okay. Separate row credits for each of the different schools, we're going to leave that as no as well, because we want to know how many credits they earned in that school year. It doesn't matter how many were CC or at the college or at the homeschool. We want to know how many credits total they earned for that school year. The next print transcripts if the student has no marks. So we're going to say yes. So now, if we are doing the progress one, that would show our freshmen that would have some marks for GP1. But if I put this away and I only say earned, and I leave this transcript for student with no marks and put no, our freshmen don't have any earned marks yet or might not have any earned marks yet. So then we're going to miss all of those freshmen. We might grab a few that took a algebra 1 class in a previous grade, but then you're going to miss some. So if you say yes, it will show their courses just like you see here in 2021, but the column is going to be blank, but at least you have that transcript and you know what courses that student is enrolled in. The next one is print regular courses that has no marks. Again, we're going to say yes. This is a timing issue as well. So if we're only doing earned and earned, right now our students might not have any earned or final grade yet because we haven't come to the semester break or we haven't come to the end of the year. So we do want to make sure that their transcript is getting printed, but they might not have those marks yet. Include drop courses in past or current course term. This one's important, in the current year. Okay, so yes, you want to see if they've dropped a course. What if a student was taking Spanish 1 first 9 weeks and they decided to drop it? You want to see what grade they had for Spanish 1. So you want to include those courses. And if you have that Progress 1, it would show what they had in GP 1. Now, this one is in the future. So this would be courses that they haven't taken yet. So, they're scheduled for something second semester, that maybe they're scheduled for Spanish 2, but because they dropped Spanish 1 during the current course term, now they're not going to take Spanish 2. Well, you don't want to see Spanish 2 because they've already dropped it, and they're not going to take it. So we can leave that one as no. And then include drop courses in previous years. Yes, if you want to see courses that they've dropped, especially if they've taken a semester of it, maybe they earned a final mark for it, but then they dropped it and didn't take it the second semester. So you do want to see what they have taken. And then the last two, this is on the course setup. So when you are creating courses, the update history flag is checked by default, and this says that the update history flag says print this on the transcript. And then is high school credit? We want to say yes, because if we say no to that, it will populate elementary classes, it will populate middle school classes that are not for high school credit and put those on the transcript. So with the is high school credit flag true being said for yes, that will also pull in if the student took any is high school credit courses during the middle school years, it will pull those in as well. Okay, next are GPA sets. So previous year GPA. Most transcripts, they're not putting multiple years of the GPAs on there. So we're going to leave that one blank. We're not going to show anything. The current year GPA, most of the time they are using the cumulative GPA. So in this case, for our test district, we have the regular 4.0 scale as well as a weighted scale. So I want to show both of those. So if you look here, it is showing both the weighted and the 4.0 scale. So if you're seeing that here, this is where that populates from. Now, this is where you can differentiate if you are creating this for the I want to menu or if you're creating this for an overall print of the official transcript, maybe for at the end of the year. If you are using this for the I want to menu, you can refresh the GPA set from here. You can say yes. So it will go look, it will refresh that GPA set, and then it will populate the transcript. If you are running this for multiple students or multiple grade levels, you're going to want to put this as no, and then manually go back, make sure your GPA set has been refreshed. Or for example, before I came into the R702, I refreshed my GPA set to make sure it was refreshed for the day, and I'm going to leave this set at no. Okay. So that's the difference. So if you say yes, you can use that for your I want to menu. Use no if you are printing for a grade level or multiple grade levels, because it will take forever to run your transcripts. So it's a lot easier just to go back to that GPA set, click on that refresh button, and it's done within seconds. So next is our attendance. So what school years do you want to see the attendance for? You should not go back more than 4 years. So you only want to see your high school attendance. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of my oldest one and I am going to include my current school year. So I have the last 4 years. So seniors, junior year, sophomore year, freshman year. If you have students that attend the JVS part-time, and they have external absences, you're going to want to put that as yes because it will show both the um, the current school, their absences as well as the external absences. And I do not have that on here, but you would see those as well. The absent cutoff date, if you are running this at the end of the year, today's date would be fine, whatever the date is that you are running this for. Um, so if you leave it blank, it is just going to go from this point forward thinking that their attendance is correct. So you can add in today's date. So if I want to cut it off at today's date, I would have that in there at the end of the school year. Maybe you're running these, after the seniors get out, they usually get done early. You can say, okay, attendance as such and such a date. So, and in this case, with the attendance, I am looking at hours on mine. You might be looking at days. So, depending on what your report card layout format has, is going to determine if it is hours or days. Next is our testing information. Okay, show separate reports. So this is old terminology. They do need to update this, but we're going to say yes to that if you want to have your testing information reported on here. Where is this going to pull from? So where are you getting your ACT information or your end of course information? So we are going to leave it at AAT. I think it defaults to that, and that stands for your assessment test page. So that's where most of our information is loaded. So we're going to leave it at the AAT. And then what assessment types do you want published on the transcript? Do you want the ACT? Do you want the end of course? So in this case, I have my ACT scores here. And I did ask for a sub-report between them, so then here's my second one, my end of course assessments, and those are listed here. These default to yes. In From Sherry's notes, she's not for 100% sure if these work correctly or not, but they are supposed to exempt if the student does not pass the assessment. So then it does not publish it on the transcript. It just does not show that information. So that is how these are supposed to work. And these groups, I don't think anybody is using these groups. And I'm not exactly sure how they work. If they do, if you are using them and want assistance on them, put in a help ticket and I'll dive deep into that and look at what they do and how they populate. This next area, this is determined on what you want on the transcript. So by default, this area is blank. So this is my graduation eligibility rule. If I leave this blank, even though this is an asterisk, you can leave this blank as well. So if this is blank, this can be blank. But if your eligibility rule has something in there, a mark type is required. So what the graduation eligibility rule, that's a mouthful, what that does is it populates this credit summary on the transcript. So it will say what is required and then what the student has earned. So, and it goes through all of the credit requirements. So if you want that to show up on the transcript, then you would pick your 2014 and beyond. If you don't want that on your transcript, you would leave this blank. So in this case, I'm going to leave it blank. So because I'm leaving this one blank, I can leave this one blank as well. But if I did want the credit summary to show, I would pick my 2014 and my final. So that's showing that I've completed that course. If I have this completed, then I would, of course, want to recalculate. But since I am not going to use this um, in my example, I'm going to leave that blank as well. So next is my student status. So in the case of using your I want to menu, I would say leave everything to the left because if a student comes in at a later time and you want to run this for an inactive student, it will allow you to do that. However, if you are creating a load setting for your official transcripts that you might run, at semester break and at the end of the year, you might only want to run this for your active students, your maybe your JVS part-time, your non-residents, whatever it might be, you could pull those over so it's not pulling in the inactives and so forth. So again, that would be for your full official load settings. I'm doing this for my I want to, so I want any student status. And then the rest of these are pretty much stay to the left because you don't want to separate it so much that you're going to miss something. Now, I know we have JVS people on here, so you might want to run transcripts for a specific homeschool students. So if their homeschool, for example, might be Mapleton, you only want to run transcripts for those kids. You can pull in the homeschools. So, but again, less is more. So leaving everything, I'm going to make sure I get all of my membership groups, all my special ed services and so forth because I'm leaving everything to the left side. If I have an specific ad hoc membership that I want to print transcripts for, so maybe my JVS kids, so I'm the homeschool, I want to print transcripts for my juniors that are going to the JVS this year. I can print transcripts with that ad hoc membership. So next, and this is your decision, a print called name. So if this is checked, what it is going to do is it is going to look at the student's profile. If there is something in the called name, it will put that on the official transcript here. So for example, if Mickey goes by Mick and that's in the called name, it would say Mick Mouse versus Mickey Mouse. If there is nothing in the called name, then it will look at the legal name. If there is nothing in the legal name, then it just goes to the general profile tab. Okay, because a lot of times we don't put the same name in the legal name, we just pull it from the general tab. If I leave this unchecked, it will look at the legal name first, and then it will look at the general tab second. So it just takes off the called name being the first look. So I'm going to leave that off because, again, if you are doing an official transcript, you might want the legal name on there. So you don't want the called name. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. Next is student IDs. If I am using this for my I want to menu, I'm going to leave that blank because I want to be able to pull up any student that I want. If I'm just pulling up for one or two kids, I can put in their student IDs here and it will populate both of those transcripts. You can have up to 50 student IDs, but if you have a list of 50 student IDs, you should probably make an ad hoc membership Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can only have up to 50, but then you have the option to create that ad hoc membership with those. The homeroom date defaults to today's date, so that's okay. And then these, once they're set, you can leave. This is when they had admission dates. So I'm going to do the admission date by the building because I want to see when they were admitted to the high school. So if I'm running this for the high school versus when they were admitted to the district, because maybe this is a student that has attended since kindergarten. Um, and then my earliest or latest admission date. So I'm going to choose the latest. So these are our kids that are, you know, they've come to our school, then they left our school, then they came back to our school, and so forth. So I just want to see their latest admission date. And then do I want to show the building or the district withdrawal date? Well, in this case, if they're officially withdrawing from the district, so they're going from my district to another district, I want to see that they have left the district completely. Um, Text for the transcript. And remember, this goes on all of them, so it is not personable to each student if you are running them in masses. But this is text, so if you want to put, something um, for additional transcripts, please contact the guidance office and put the phone number. Anything like that that you want printed on all of them, you can put that there. And then some districts also include a grading scale if you want to have that on there with the percentage range and so forth. So next is how we're going to print these. So if we are printing these in masses, this is a good selection to have. So improve performance by separating the report processing by grade. So basically what this is going to do is automatically say, okay, here's all my seniors, here's all my juniors, here's all my sophomores, and so forth. So it will automatically create the sorting option ascending with the grade level. So it automatically does that. If you have this selected, you do have to pick all of the grade levels that you are going to print. Okay, and then you can put the order that you want them in. There are, if you can't see that, there are little arrows right here that you can change the order. But in this case, this is our sorting order. So it's going to sort ascending by grade level and then ascending for student name. If I want to change that for some reason and I wanted student names first, then grade level, I can change the order just by clicking on those arrows. Okay. So again, this is going to go by grade level and then it will populate them alphabetically. Okay. So I'm going to open this up. And before I hit submit to look at these transcripts, I am going to scroll all the way up to the top and I'm going to go to load settings. And this would be the exact same if you were running the R700 for report cards. You would have all of your selection criteria picked, and then you would click load settings. So in here, and I know someone had a question earlier about the I want to. This is where you are going to determine that you want this on the I want to menu. So this is my 24, 25 transcripts. Now that I have a name in there, I can uncheck private. Once I uncheck private, now it gives me the option to say available in the I want to. So once I click on that, I have it named, I'm going to hit save. Once I click on save, you can see now here it populates. So if I go back to my students and I go back to Mickey Mouse, and I go to Mickey, and now if I go to my I want to menu, view my student transcript, I now see the 24, 25 transcripts. Once I click on that, it's going to take a second and it's going to populate my transcript. So you'll notice So you'll notice this was the original run that I had, and I ran that with last year's load settings. So it had 2018 in there, and then you'll notice that the 23 school year was the current school year, and it was showing progress one. So it was showing each of the grading periods. I took away progress one, so it's only showing final marks. Well, this student doesn't have any final marks for this school year, but because I said yes, print, even if there are no marks, it still prints the transcript for me. But I can see last year, um, it's just showing me the final, which would match up here. Okay. So, and then I included both my GPA sets for my 4-point and my weighted. I included my ACT scores and my end of course assessments, and those populated as well. And then remember, I left the graduation eligibility area blank. So you'll notice that this credit summary did not populate on the transcript because I did not want it to. So now I'm going to close the old one. We'll leave this one. We'll close it. We can come back to it. So now if I go back to my R702, you'll see that it basically defaults to the generic information. So it's got triways, seals in here. It's got some of the old dates. It doesn't even have, everything that I picked. Progress one is still selected and so forth. So because I created that load setting, now if I click on load settings, once I click on 24, 25 transcripts, you'll see it picked the correct layout. It has all the current school year. I did not have the progress one included, so that is showing, and so forth. So everything that I picked now populates. So if I do need to tweak this, maybe I do. Maybe, you know what? I want to see how the freshmen are doing. I want to see the progress one. I want to see what they got first 9 weeks, see how they're doing, see if they had any credits from previous years. Maybe they took algebra and so forth. All these settings are still going to stay the same. My GPA sets are still going to be there, attendance, all of this information, but maybe instead of printing all the grade levels, now I only want to print ninth grade. So I'm going to remove these other two or three, and then I would print and hit submit. And I don't have any ninth graders set up. So let's just do 12th grade. We'll bring those in. I only set a 10th and a 12th grader up. So once I hit submit, it's going to populate those. It'll take a minute because I'm doing the whole grade level. We'll come back to that. But now, once I leave, so if I leave to go look at a student, I go back to Mickey and I go back to his I want to menu. I pull his back up. Now, if I come back to the R702, you'll see it defaulted to what I used last. So it's showing progress one. It's only showing the grade level that I wanted to print, the 12th grade. But now if I click back to my load settings and I click back to my 24, 25, now it's going to return to what I originally wanted or originally start with. So again, at the end of the do you have to create two different load settings? Absolutely not. But if run the masses multiple times throughout the year, if you have everything set, you can create that load setting. If you just want to tweak it each time, you can tweak it each time because I can come back in here now and say, okay, I only want my active residents, or, I only want my 10th graders this time. I can keep changing it. What you can't do in load settings is once I have saved a load setting, I cannot come here and modify it. If I made a mistake and I don't like this load setting, I have to delete it. So I can delete it and then start over and resave it. Or if I have this one and then I want to create one for the masses, and I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be for all the students. I want to make sure that maybe I do at the end of the school year, I do want the graduation eligibility to show. I also want my GPA to not refresh for when I'm printing in bulk. So I'm going to leave that at no. And then what I can do is then come back to load settings and resave it. I can save it with a new name. So this would be my new transcripts for all students. And I would have those. And then again, if I want it on the I want to menu, I can do it that way. Or if I just want it so I can print it, I would just leave it as private so that I can print it as needed. And you can see here, Rebecca printed one that is private. So we're seeing it here, but when I go to Mickey, we don't see it listed here because it is not checked for that I want to menu. Okay, so it just stays in there. It will load your settings. It will have everything set for you, but it doesn't show on this screen. Any questions with setting up the formatter with your selection criteria and or saving your load settings? And again, when you're creating load settings, I know in the R700 you can only delete your own. I'm assuming you can only delete your own as well. I get to delete everybody's. So if that is the case and you have really old load settings in here that you want deleted, please put in a ticket and we'll remove those for you. I know some of the R700, some people were having those cleaned up this year. They were dating back to like 2012, 2013. So it just kind of cleans up that list some. So let us know if you can't delete somebody that has left or retired and you want those gone. We can remove those for you.
Shelley, I have a question.
Sure.
I was unable to check the box for I want to.
You have to
And
uncheck private first.
okay, that's what I figured I missed. Thanks.
Yep. hmm Okay. Any other questions? And I think it was Julie that had the question earlier. So hopefully saving your load settings with the I want to, you will now be able to see it when you pull up a student.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Okay. So if you're looking at the documentation, the next part of it, starting on page 33, it shows all of the different default formats and what they print. And then everything that I just talked about in detail, it's written in detail as well for the next zillion pages. So you'll see all of that information. It goes on and on and on, all the way to page 40. So page 40, I did talk about in the previous with the course history and the class ranking. That is printing the R325 for the class ranking. So you can refer to that recording. And then also in the documentation, it shows you some of the examples of the different formats that are available. So again, by looking at these, for example, the fixed N2 includes the homeschool. So that might be something the JVSs would like to look at because they want the homeschool listed on the transcript. So you can look at pieces, parts of these different ones and say, oh, I like this, I don't like this, or I want this on mine. And then again, put in a ticket and we can update your custom because your custom layouts do not automatically update. Okay, and again, you can look at others. Triway and Loudonville are numeric districts, so their setup is going to be a little bit different than everybody that's alpha. So the last thing that we are going to talk about is on the Student Information homepage, listed under the Document section all the way at the bottom. And I did try to clean up some of the older documents. I saw that there were some old ones on here. So I did try to clean those up, they still said Dazzle. Even though all still call it Dazzle, it doesn't say Dazzle up here. Some of the screenshots were still showing Dazzle screen. So I got rid of those. Um, so we're going to look at this transcripts, EMIS, and seals. Oh my. So we are going to talk about two different seals that don't automatically update themselves. You do have to manually make changes in multiple places for these two seals. So I just want you to be aware of these, and the documentation is there for you to refer back to. So we are going to look at our student here. So again, the information shows on the FN Graduate tab here, but you cannot edit it from here. So if, for example, my student Corey is fluent in Spanish, they are going to get the seal of biliteracy. I can't just add that information here. I have to go into my student exemptions and requirements. So with that being said, I'm going to go directly there from this link, or you can type in student exemptions from the go-to menu, and it'll populate that way. So when I click on this, you can see it's going to bring up my student exemptions. We're not going to look at anything else except for our diploma type and our seal of biliteracy. So for example, my graduation date, that nothing has been set yet. So graduation is scheduled for um, the 23rd. So I can populate that. Once I hit update exemptions, it will automatically update the FN graduate tab in the student profile. I don't know why they don't put save exemptions here, but think of this as your save button. So you do have to click on this in order for anything that you do here to update. So for example, Corey here is going to get a academic diploma with honors. So if I click on that here, okay, once I click on update exemptions, it saves. Okay, so it says that it's saved. So again, why they don't say save here, but I don't write the software. So you will see if I scroll down to my seals, you will see here that it does not automatically check that. Just because I change it to the honors diploma does not mean that it automatically is going to check this for me. So what will happen is overnight, if you can wait overnight, it runs nightly, that it will automatically update the student exemptions. Okay. If you don't want to wait overnight, then you go back a screen to your grad points, go to your grad summary screen, and then you have to say check for updates. Once I click on that, I think I clicked on it. Yeah, it's running. Okay. So now it was last updated by me. I'm going to go back to my grad point screen and go back to my student exemptions. And then if I look now, it now checks the honors diploma seal. Okay. So just know if you make the update up here, you either have to wait overnight and it will run with integration. It does those update exemptions automatically. Or if you want it right now because you want to see this on their transcript, you need to print their transcript right now, then you have to go through those steps that I just went by going to the grad point summary, update the exemptions there, and then come back to the screen and it will be updated here. Okay. If I go back to my student's profile and go back to the FN graduate, you will see the screen has now been updated with the graduation date that I put in, as well as the diploma type. Any questions with that? Again, I know it's weird. They keep saying that they're going to fix it, but they have not fixed it. So that is the workaround if you need it right here and now. Okay. Our next one is looking at our seal for biliteracy. So I know this doesn't affect a lot of students, but there are some. So there are multiple steps that you need to do for a seal of biliteracy. One is this is one area where um, it will not automatically create a student membership. So if I go back to my students screen, I can go to my edit memberships. So there has to be a membership created for languages. The reason it doesn't automatically create a student membership like it does some of the other ones is because it does not know exactly what language that it's creating the membership for. So you will create that membership. So if I click on add, scroll down so you guys can see that. I'm going to click on my seal of biliteracy. And then this is where you are going to pick the language. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to say Corey is fluent in Spanish, starting at the beginning of the school year. Oh. And then I'm going to hit save. So you can see now I have the 600 code for seal of biliteracy in Spanish. So that's one step, is making sure that that student has that student membership. Next, I'm going to go back to my grad point screen and go back to my student exemptions. So next, I need to also make sure that I am marking this in the graduation elements. What language? Now, this does not look, all of these have drop-down arrows. Why this one doesn't have a drop-down arrow, I don't know. But if you click on it, it is like a drop-down arrow. Okay. But I can start typing in Spanish and it will populate it. So you don't have to scroll through all of them, but then I can click this. Okay. So now I have it marked that this student is fluent in Spanish. And I'm going to say update my exemptions. Okay. So now if I scroll down, I now want to check, I'm manually checking my seal of biliteracy. Okay. So it's not something automatic that once I add a language in here, it automatically checks it. I still need to check that. And then remember, I have to save on this screen by clicking on the update button. Even though it doesn't say save, I'm clicking update. And then now Spanish is in place. I have the seal saved. If I go back to the student's FN graduate tab, Spanish should be located in here. And now if I print the student's transcript, they should have two seals, the honors diploma and the seal of biliteracy. Those two, again, those are listed in that documentation. Those are the two that don't automatically update themselves. Okay, so the honors diploma, if you do want to wait overnight, you can wait for that, um, the update exemptions to happen overnight. But if you manually want to do it, you have to go back to that screen. So all of that documentation is listed there. Any last minute questions? Well, thank you, everyone.